This is a chart showing how parenting has completely changed in 2025. You can see here in 2019, kids were averaging 4.7 hours a day looking at screens. Then the pandemic hit and suddenly we're looking at over 7 hours daily. But even though the pandemic is over, we're still sitting at 6 hours daily in 2025. That's a 27% permanent increase that isn't going away. If you're a parent watching this video, chances are that you've had this moment. You know the one. You walk into your child's room expecting them to be asleep, only to find the glow of a screen lighting up their face at 11 p.m. Or maybe you've caught yourself handing over your phone just to get 5 minutes of peace while you're making dinner. But here's what's really concerning. The screen time explosion isn't just changing kids, it's changing parents too. And what I'm about to show you explains why parenting feels so much harder than ever before. Look at this. It's a chart showing stress levels in parents compared to other adults. While stress levels for other adults have stayed flat at around 20%, stress for parents has skyrocketed. We're now sitting at 35% of parents reporting high levels of stress. That's the largest gap between parents and non-parents ever recorded. Think about your typical Tuesday evening as a parent. You're juggling dinner prep while your kid is melting down about homework. Your phone is buzzing with notifications, and you realize you have barely had any time to even take care of yourself. Now imagine feeling like this most days. That's the reality for 3 out of 4 working mothers who report feeling constantly stressed trying to balance work and family. And it's not just moms. Fathers are struggling too. Almost half of all parents say that most days their stress is completely overwhelming. And there's something adding to their stress that previous generations of parents never had to deal with: the constant battles over gaming and screen time. This is how childhood has completely shifted. Look at this progression. Kids aged 8 to 13 are spending on average 2.5 hours a day playing video games. But the peak comes in their teen years with 13 to 17-year-olds spending over 3 hours a day playing. And that only accounts for actual gameplay. There are additional hours talking on Discord, watching YouTube videos, and scrolling on TikTok. Now think about when you were 10 years old. You probably spent your afternoons outside riding bikes, building forts, or organizing pickup games with neighborhood kids. You had to be creative, negotiate with friends, solve problems, and develop actual hobbies. Maybe you collected baseball cards, learned to skateboard, or spent hours drawing. That's how you learn to be resourceful and independent. But now your kid comes home from school and immediately goes to their room to game for hours. They tell you they're hanging out with their friends online and just having fun. But what you're witnessing is something completely different. You're watching them lose motivation for everything else. For some kids, they struggle to complete basic tasks, have no other interests or hobbies, and can't seem to function without a screen glued to their hand. With 85% of teens now gaming regularly, this isn't just affecting a few families, it's reshaping an entire generation. And here's what's really confusing for parents about this shift. Kids seem to no longer care about anything other than gaming. And one area in particular that's odd is their lack of interest in getting their driver's license. According to research by Gene Twinge, teen driving has dramatically declined over the past few decades. This is a chart showing teen driver's license rates from the late 1970s to 2023. By senior year of high school, only 63% of teens had their license in 2023, compared to 82% as recently as 2005. Nearly 90% of boomers and Gen X had their licenses by the end of high school. Remember counting down the days until your 16th birthday? You probably had your permit since the moment you were eligible and constantly pestered your parents for driving practice. Getting your license meant freedom. You could drive to friends' houses, go to the mall, maybe even take someone on a date. It was your first real taste of independence. But your teenager is perfectly content having you drive them everywhere. They'd rather stay home gaming with friends online than go anywhere that requires actually leaving the house. Why bother with the hassle of learning to drive when everything they want is right there on their screen? Twinge's research shows this isn't really about rideshare apps, busy schedules, or economic pressure like most experts claim. The decline started in the 1990s, long before smartphones or Uber existed. But this isn't just about not wanting to drive. It's about not wanting to grow up at all. This is a chart showing the percentage of 25 to 34-year-olds living with their parents from 2000 to 2024. In the year 2000, about 12% of young adults were still living at home. By 2024, that number is 18%. That's a 50% increase, representing roughly 8.5 million young adults in the US who haven't achieved independence by their 30s. Maybe your story sounds familiar. Your 26-year-old finished college but moved back home temporarily to save money. That was 3 years ago. They work part-time, if at all, and spend most of their day gaming or scrolling social media. But what puzzles you the most is they seem perfectly content letting you handle groceries, laundry, and bills. When you bring up the possibility of having them move out, they have endless excuses about rent prices, job markets, or needing to figure things out. I had one family I'm working with in my coaching program tell me recently they asked their son to get a job, and he said he didn't want one. Why? Because the job wasn't fun. Yep, and he's 29 years old living at home. You can find information on my coaching program in the description. What's really happening here is some young adults have discovered the most comfortable and convenient life possible. No rent, no responsibilities, and unlimited screen time. They're not motivated to change because, frankly, why would they? You're providing everything they need while they live in a virtual paradise. I talk about this lack of motivation more in my video on the 4 buckets theory, which you can find linked in the description. So if young adults are avoiding independence, then the next question is what happens to their ability to form serious relationships? To answer this question, this study will explain why so many parents are wondering if they'll ever have grandchildren. If you want to see how dramatically things have changed, just look at when people get married. Back in 1950, men married at 22 and women at 20. Fast forward to 2024, and we're looking at 30 for men and 28 for women. That's nearly an 8-year delay for both genders. Now think about your own timeline. You probably met your spouse in college or shortly after, got married in your early to mid-20s, and started building a life together. Maybe you were homeowners and parents by 30. That was the normal progression, and your parents probably expected grandchildren around the same age you were when you had kids. But now, your 24-year-old is still living at home, has never had a serious relationship, and shows zero interest in dating, yet alone settling down. When you hint about meeting someone special, they roll their eyes and talk about focusing on their career or just not being ready. Meanwhile, they spend most of their free time gaming or on social media instead of being social, experiencing life, and meeting potential partners. Perhaps most alarming of all is that research shows only 58% of Gen Z women and 56% of Gen Z men will ever marry. That's a dramatic shift from previous generations where marriage was nearly universal. So not only are they delaying marriage, many may never marry at all. And this isn't just a change in tradition, it has real consequences. This is a chart showing mental health statistics for teens and young adults in 2024. Look at these numbers. They're staggering. 32% of teens experience anxiety disorders. 18% have depression. And among young adults aged 18 to 29, 27% report loneliness. 36% experience anxiety. And 59% have depression. These rates represent dramatic increases from previous generations. Anxiety disorders among young people have increased by 52% globally since 1990, with the steepest increases happening after 2019. So all these trends we've discussed so far, the screen time explosion, gaming replacing the playground, and young people living at home late into adulthood, aren't happening in isolation. They're interconnected and together, fueling a mental health crisis amongst young people. Think about it. When you replace outdoor play with gaming, face-to-face friendships with online interactions, and real-life challenges with digital comfort zones, you're not preparing kids for life. You're setting them up to struggle without the resilience and coping skills needed for success and happiness. The current system simply isn't working for their health or their independence. And guess who's left trying to manage all of this? You as parents, navigating challenges no previous generation has ever faced. Now, there's one more thing I want to show you, and that's the outcome all these trends are producing. This chart shows how Gen Z is delaying major life milestones compared to the 1970s generation. Marriage delayed by 8 years, home buying delayed by 7 years, moving out delayed by 6 years, having children delayed by 5 years, and even getting a driver's license delayed by 2 years. This isn't just about young people taking longer to grow up. It's the direct result of the social and mental health shifts we've covered. The explosion in screen time, the mental health crisis, and the breakdown in traditional milestones all add up to a new reality for modern families. Your parents expected you to launch into independence by your early 20s. Maybe they helped with college, but by 25, you were probably married, had your own place, and were figuring out life on your own. Now, you're supporting your children well into their late 20s and even 30s. This systematic delay creates a cascade effect that puts unprecedented pressure on you. You're not just dealing with normal parenting challenges. You're navigating extended periods of intensive parenting that no previous generation has faced. And the data shows this isn't temporary. These trends represent fundamental shifts in modern society that are here to stay. But here's the good news as a parent. You don't have to fight this battle alone or rely on strategies that just don't work. The truth is, getting your son off screens and video games isn't about nagging, negotiating, or even therapy. If you want to see the exact system I use to help parents turn addicted gamers into thriving adults, watch the video that's on your screen right now. I'll break down why traditional methods don't work, why your son might be in denial about his problem, and the step-by-step system that actually leads to change. You're not alone, and with the right strategy, your son can get back to balance faster than you think.